Hey guys, welcome back to another Flutter tutorial. In this video we will see how to use phone number authentication with all its features into our Flutter application using Firebase. So this is the demo how it works. First we will provide our phone number here. Press next. It will send a verification code into this number. And this is the new feature from Firebase which will verify that you are not a robot. We have to verify this, then it will redirect us back to the application. And here, if we provide a wrong OTP verification code, it will say an invalid OTP. And again, if we provide a right OTP for this, which is this one, it will redirect us to home screen and it will provide the user ID into our home screen. We will have a logout screen, logout button here, which again returns us back to our login screen. So we will see the implementation for this project step by step in this video, and you will learn everything about phone authentication using Firebase into your Flutter application. I will also leave the source code for this project into the description of this video. If you require to use it and copy it into some of your project, you can go ahead and copy from there. So without talking too much, let's proceed with the video and see how we can implement this. Hey guys, welcome back. In this video we will see the phone number authentication using Firebase and Flutter. So for this to get started, you have to have your Firebase configured with your Flutter project, as I already did, and I have googled the services.json file. The next step, you have to go to your authentication and sign-in method. From here you have to enable this phone, enable this, and now you're ready to proceed with the video. Before starting, we have to import the libraries which we will use. In this case we will use only phone number authentication and Firebase core. This pinput is used only for the design of that verification code. So I will link to all of them in the description so you can get the latest version of them. Now we are actually ready to start implementing our code. So the very first step for a Firebase project is going to be, we have to ensure the initialization of Firebase at the top level before running our app. Okay, now our first screen is a login screen, and from here we will pass the control to login screen, and I will create a new file, login.dart. So our task from main is finished. We have to go and implement our design into the login screen. So in this screen we will have a simple and basic design for getting the user's phone number and a button to proceed to the next page, which will be the verification code. Okay, we are done with our login page, and here we will provide our phone number to the application, and by pressing the next button we have to pass this phone number into our next screen, which will be the OTP verification, and from there we will wait for the user to enter the verification code which will be sent into this phone number. And if the verification code is correct, we will log in the user into our application, and otherwise we will give some error message that verification is wrong. We will also automate this process, like if your SIM card is into your device, it will automatically verify without letting the user to enter the code manually. So all the process of phone number authentication will be started from our next screen, which is otp.dart. Let me create that. So we have our OTP screen, but first we have to pass the phone number from in here in OTP screen. I will get a final string of phone, and I will pass this OTP as the constructor this.phone, and it will be a required parameter, while here we have to pass the controller text. So we are done from our login screen. We can close this right now, and in here let me do the basic design like a bar. So in our OTP screen I will have a simple text where I will write verify this phone number, and after that I will provide the boxes for verification code. So I will design it very quick and show you what I mean. We can access the variable from our stateful by using widget dot variable name here. Okay, here I will pass my phone number, which will be all the way to, and by pressing this next button we have to have our phone number here appearing. And okay, so for the verification code boxes and those design that you have seen in the demo. Okay, so for verification code, those pins, I have told you that we will use this package here, which is pinput. Now it's the time to go there, and so from here I will copy this design for our, after this text I want to copy the design and import the library, and here I will also take this decoration as a variable top here, and now we need to get this focus and controller as well. So we'll get this focus and the text editing controller and make it a top level variable. So for now on submit we will leave it. Now if we test our application we will have this cool design, but of course we have to change this to 6-digit. Okay, now we are able to type something in here. So till now we haven't sent any verification code into the provided phone number, even in login screen. What we did all was just sending the phone number into our OTP screen. It means that we have to control everything into our OTP screen, and in this screen we have to create a function where it has to send the verification code to the phone number, and it should also check whether that phone number is in the current device. If it is in the current device, it should automatically verify and log the user into our application. Otherwise, if it is not in the current device, it should wait for the user to enter the verification code in here. So for that, we will write a function which is called verify. We have a function called verify phone number. So these are some parameters which we have to control while using the verify phone number. The first one is very much clear. We can pass widget.phone, but we have to also pass the country code of the phone number. For us, in this case, it will be +1, which is US, because I have created my Firebase in the location of US. It doesn't really matter, you can use any of them, but I have an optional phone number in here which I have given a +1. That's why you can use any country, that doesn't matter. Just like I have this a test phone number with +1, that's why I'm giving +1. So the next parameter here is actually the next function is on verification completed. We will do that after sending the code. This one will send the code. We will retrieve the code from this and proceed with the verification completed. So for this, we have to also have our top level variable where it is called a string verification. Okay, so when we call this verify phone number, it will take this phone number and it will send this verification code into this phone number. What I did here simply is just storing this verification code into a variable so that later on we could kind of compare this verification code with the one which is entered by the user manually. And then here we have code auto retrieval timeout. We will provide a timeout which is another parameter here called timeout. Suppose we will provide it as duration of 60 seconds. So here we have given a timeout which is after 60 seconds it will resend another new code. So for the first time it will send this verification ID and we will assign that into our verification code variable so that we could compare at the top level where the user manually enters the code. But after 60 seconds this code is no longer valid. We will get a new code using this function, and this function will return a new code here using this verification ID. So what I did here, I just reassigned this new code into our verification code variable. Now we can handle the errors, if any. Our type of error will be Firebase auth exception. And finally, we have to control whenever this is the last step, which will be like verification complete, when the user when this function sends a verification code into this number and the user enters the verification code which has been sent correctly, then this function will be called. So at the end, when the user when the user is successfully verified and entered the verification code correctly, then this last function will be called, which is verification completed. And of course, at the last step, we will want it to actually log in the user into our Firebase and give access into our application. So that's the thing that we will do here. So on verification complete, I will have a phone auth credential. So now everything is going well, and we have to log our user into our Firebase using Firebase auth dot instance dot sign in with credentials, which will pass the credential from here. Okay, now let me explain everything from its beginning, because all the video is about this part, verifying the phone number and the logging in our user. So first step, we have to call this verify function on our init state that we will do after later on. So we will use this firebase auth.instance.verify phone number. The verify phone number, you can see it has got some parameters which are optional and required. We have to pass the phone number. We already did pass the phone number. You also have to provide the country code anywhere that your customers or clients are. You have to pass the country code for that country. Another parameter which is the function is verification complete. We will explain this at the end because it will happen when all the steps are done. This one is just for handling the error if any uh, failure occurs during the verification process. Then this is just giving that message. Suppose we are giving a wrong verification ID. This code sent will actually do the task for us. It will take this phone number and send this verification ID into that provided phone number. And what we did here is just assigning this verification code into our verification code variable in the that we have created for our class, because later on up here I will by on submit, if we manually come here and provide a verification by the user, then we have to have the actual verification code stored somewhere so that we could compare whether it is the right verification or not. So first time this function will be called if we have timeout for our verification code. After 60 seconds it will, or after any amount of time that you specify, it will resend another code, which will be a new code, and this code will no longer be valid. This will be invalidated, and at that time this function will be called. This function will provide us a new code where again I have just assigned the new code into our verification code variable, which is again the top level variable. And finally we will provide the timeout. One more thing you have to consider: if you don't use timeout, if you never want to send a new code for your user and you just want to send the code only once, then if that's the case, then you don't have to use this timeout and this code auto retrieval. It's not required, because you will only send the code once, and that code will be stored inside your this one variable. And the last thing, we will come into the verification complete. Once the code is sent to the phone number here, this code will be verified, and once the user actually entered the verification code correctly inside these boxes, it will be verified, and then this function on complete will be called. What this will do is just simply log in the user and give access into our Firebase database using these credentials, which will be created by Firebase, and it will give a token for our current user. So it will create a credential for the current user and login the user using those credentials, and then we will check if the user is not null. We will pass our control into our home screen, which will be whatever your application design is, but in this case we will design a simple and a blank home screen where we have to pass our user from this OTP screen to the home screen, so that we understand that our user actually got logged in and that our program is really working. So that's it. I hope you guys got this point, because that's all the thing that we so that's it. I hope you guys understood this part. If you still have some problem in this part, or some questions, you just comment down below. I will answer in not longer than 10 minutes. Now what we have to do with this function, we have to just create an init state, and here we have to call this function, because whenever we pass the phone number from login to OTP screen, the first thing that OTP screen will do is just verify the phone number by sending a verification code to the provided phone number. Even if the SIM card exists in the current device, it will automatically verify. It doesn't really require the user to type the code manually in here. But if it fails, if the SIM card is not present in the current user, then we have to come here and control that manually by so on submit of this, we will take these 6 digits from the boxes, and we will compare that with our verification code, which is here. And if that's true, if both of them are matching, it means that the user has entered the right and correct verification code. Then we have to actually log in our user into the Firebase and give access into our application. So you can see here we will try to sign in with credential. Which credentials? These are the credentials which we will provide. Phone auth provider.credential, and this is the verification code that we have stored here. It means it is the actual verification code, and this is the one which the user will enter. This one will compare these two, and if they are correct, it will simply sign in with credential. It means it will give access for our user to actually enter to the database. So suppose the user has given some wrong verification code in here. We have to handle that so that our application does not crashes. For that purpose, I will wrap all of these guys into a try-catch block. So on error, I have to show the user that you have entered a wrong OTP verification code. For that, I have to create a snack bar. So if the user enters a wrong OTP code, here I will unfocus. Unfocus means just when we press here, the keyboard will come up here. But if the user enters a wrong OTP code, it will unfocus and hide the keyboard and say and show a snack bar, which will say that you have entered an invalid OTP. So okay, so let's have our home page as well, so that if we verify our user, we have to pass that into our home.dart. So if our user is not null, we will pass the control into our home page. Also, I will paste that in here. Now, if the user provides a valid OTP code, it will pass the user into our home page. Now, here I will design our home page by providing the current user ID into a text field. So okay, now our application is up and running. If we provide the phone number that we have given here for the test purpose, it's all the way 1 to 9, and at the end it is 1. So I will give the same 1, and if I press next, let me just show the debug mode as well. If we get any error, so if I press next, it will so this is a new kind of verification. I don't know whether it is only in emulator devices or in real devices as well, but I've checked it in here. In emulator it is checking for if you're not a robot. So now it has sent a verification code for this number. We already have a verification code for this number, which is all the way 2. If I enter some wrong verification code in here, we should get an error, which is an invalid OTP. And if I remove all of them and press and give a correct OTP, it should pass the user into home screen and provide the user ID into here. So this is the application that we have tried. I also tried this one in real device. It is working perfectly fine, which automatically receives the OTP even if your SIM card is in your current device. It automatically retrieves the OTP, and there's no need for you to write the OTP manually. It will redirect you into home screen. So now we have a button here which is used to sign out our user and go back to our login screen. So this is how we can implement the phone number authentication using Firebase and Flutter, and I did my best to explain in easiest possible way and make the code very much clear so that you will be able to understand even if you do not watch the video. But still, if you're facing any problem implementing this phone number authentication using Firebase and Flutter, feel free to comment in this video. I will try to respond as soon as possible and solve your problem. So once again, thank you for watching the video, and if you enjoyed the video and learned something new, don't forget to press that like button and subscribe to the channel so you won't miss such amazing videos in the future, and I will see you in the next video.